one of the things I've noticed on more newer pilots is that it appears as though they really only have 3 or 4 throttle positions. And it's kind of static. Is 0 throttle, half throttle, maybe a little more than half throttle, and then full throttle. And it's not bad. I mean, you can fly fine with that. If you want to go to the next level and make things more consistent and smooth as you're flying and just have that smooth look that you see other pilots have, you'll also notice that as they're flying, they're constantly changing the throttle, the speed of the plane. And that's what I'm trying to introduce here, is the whole concept of watching the plane. What does it need? You don't need full throttle through an entire loop. You don't need full throttle on takeoff. And you don't need 0 throttle on landing. So in this video, I'm just going to go through some of those examples and show you kind of what I'm doing a little differently, maybe, as far as just modulating the throttle. I keep saying modulating the throttle. Really, I'm just, moving that stick. It's not a big deal, but it makes a big deal on your flying and the consistency. And it's a way of just, like I said, it's leveling up. So stick around. I'll show you what I mean. Differences in taking off. Right, so if you're a lot of pilots might just start rolling and then they punch it and they go up. Well, that's one way to do it, I guess. Or let's just modulate the throttle a little bit and get a nice long roll out. A very slow and gradual push of that throttle just gives this nice smooth look. Flaps up. I want to mention 2 things on my transmitter. The first thing is I have set up my transmitter that the throttle has that tension in it, the little clicks, like little ratcheting. As I'm moving up, I can feel the little indents as I'm moving it up and down. That just gives me that feel as I'm flying of giving a little bit of throttle, a little less throttle. And again, notice how much I'm moving. There's sometimes on the circuit where I'm just moving just a slight amount. When I'm coming in for landing, I'm just moving just a slight amount, not a lot. Okay, this isn't big extreme movements. Very slight movements to just speed up the plane or reduce that throttle. Anyway, just thought I'd point that out. If you watch my landing videos, you'll hear me talk about throttle control constantly. Example of not modulating the throttle.
Too slow, sock.
Trying to do a nice 3-point landing. So again, modulating that throttle. And in this case, the modulation is very, very slight, but it is there. Example of landing in the wind with the P-47, and you can listen to the throttle.
If you watch a lot of the videos of the really good pilots, you'll hear the throttle on their plane change as they're flying. They're not static. And change is such a small amount. What I mean by that is, we're talking just a little bit. Like in this turn here, I might speed up just a little bit so I don't lose altitude. A lot of new pilots that I taught, they try to just keep that throttle in the same position and fly the plane, which is fine, and one less thing you kind of got to worry about. But it's so much easier after you get to a point where, okay, you've got some skills. Now go to the next level, and that is throttle management. In the turns, you might have to speed up a little. Watch your plane. What does it need? Going to go up and do, go up and do a loop or a roll or whatever. Backing off throttle right there. Rolling back into my throttle there. Backing off throttle here. So most of the maneuvers you're going to do while you're flying, you are modulating that throttle, going faster and slower. And I encourage you to practice that a little bit. Just don't stay stuck in your one throttle position. The basic loop, full throttle, back off. Doing some other maneuvers like rolls or inverted, you definitely need to have a little bit more throttle control, maybe a little more speed. The more speed on your roll allows you to do an axial roll a little bit better until you get to the point where you're starting to add in a little rudder and elevator on your rolls. But throttle control helps with that a little bit.
Listen to the throttle on this Edge 540. It's constantly going, especially in this maneuver, this Harrier maneuver. But all of it, you're never staying static. I'm going to ask for 2 favors if you can. 1, hit that like button. 2, leave a comment. What do you think about this content? I'd love to know. Thanks.
Coming in here a little hot. So I was feeding in some throttle, modulating the throttle. What does my plane need? And giving my plane what it needs. So I encourage you, don't just keep static throttle while you're flying. Constantly be adjusting that throttle. And when again, very minute amounts. You know, if you think about the stick, you know, your throttle stick, you're just moving it a 1/4 inch or so. Anyway, good luck.